Hey everyone, in this video I'll be talking about some top VS Code extensions to install. And by top extensions, I don't mean top 10 or like a quantifiable number. I just mean the top extensions that you wouldn't encounter when coding normally. You wouldn't just install it because you're coding C++. You'd install it because you have to search for it or something. So I won't be going over those default language packs. And I actually wrote this blog yesterday or something. So, of course, if you're like me, just feel free to click that link and read it yourself and get some of my subtle humor here as well. And the first thing I'll go over is my theme. The VS Code theme I use is the material theme high contrast, darker high contrast. So if you go with just the darker theme, I actually don't like the normal darker theme because it's just a bit too bright in my opinion, and it doesn't really. You can see that it doesn't have the. Okay, just not good enough in my opinion. It's too light, it's too bright, and it doesn't outline everything. The outlines aren't there either. And even with the high contrast, the comments don't appear that nice, or in this case, neither do the doc strings. They don't appear readable. So I also have a custom edit rule over here so that the comments as well as the doc string for Python appear a bit more brighter. So actually, this is just a sample code, but something like settings.json, you can see this comment, it's pretty nice. But if you were to comment this out, you can see that the comment is now super dark. So obviously, this is a great fix that I've added. Next up is the material theme icons extension. So I'll go over the I'll go over them, like I'll open them up as well so that you guys can see how it looks like. So this is the first one, how it looks like. It's just the link, the download link right there. And yeah, I'm not really gonna go over it. I kind of showed you how to do it. Just go to preference color theme. Next up is the material theme icons. So I think okay, actually I don't want to show that, but if we go over here, I think if I disable it and enable it really quickly, you can, okay, hold on. Oh, it requires a reload. I'm not reloading. But anyways, the my joke here was that your theme isn't enough. You kind of have to edit or customize everything that you can over there. Next up, which you probably already have installed, but it's not a default language pack extension, it's the code runner. So I don't actually think this extension is perfect, but it's kind of ridiculous that it's kind of the only thing that you can use at the moment that's actually good. It's good enough, right? It's good enough. And yeah, if you code in Python or C++, just like single files, sometimes it's really useful. But one thing that you do need to do, in my opinion, is make sure that it runs in a terminal and not the output. So if you want to do that, you go to settings over here and you go to code runner, and you can see where it says run in terminal. You want to make sure this is check marked so that code runs in the terminal. I also have clear output, but it depends on if you really care about the output of the previous run. For me, I don't really code like scripts that often that I need that previous output, but it's there. And I do recommend it actually to not clear the output. It's just that when I work with my file, there's a lot of output that I don't need. So yeah, it really depends on what you want to do. Anyways, moving onwards, we have the better C++ syntax. So if you are a C++ intermediate programmer like me who's just, not, I don't have everything memorized. That's why I use VS Code for the auto completion. So I just found this. I don't know when I found this, but as long as there's more syntax highlighting, does it really matter? Like that's all you need, right? You don't really care about these features. All that matters is these extra syntax highlighting. But I guess here are some oh wait, this is something else, but here are some other features that it does have actually. But, and yeah, let's go. What else? Okay, so next one's really important. It's Git Graph. So I'll show you two things. I'll show you how it looks like. So I bet you there is better extensions. This is probably a better one, but yeah, it might be a better one. It just there's no screenshots here for some reason. Okay, it's a bit slow as well. And you can see that, but here is how it looks like, the one I use, and here is how it looks like. So you click this at the bottom right, or sometimes you know what I like to do? I just do this. This also works. If you do Control Shift P, and then you can open Git Graph. But I do recommend clicking it rather than typing it out, because I'm so used to typing it out and it resets the last used command. But I don't really like resetting the last used command because I like to keep that as focus or something else. But anyways, when you're here, one of the most useful things that you do in Git, or you'd want to do in Git, is called a Git rebase. It's called rebasing, but there's no, if you just right click, there's no like one click a rebase, right? It's not like that, and it's really deceptive of how why it's called rebase. But to actually perform a rebase, you have to do like several things, and I'll show you the gist of it. So suppose some commits were on the origin, and we now pulled the changes, and a merge commit occurred, and this is a pull request. So we merged the master branch back into our branch, and there's a merge commit to like, uh, to if there's any merge conflicts and whatever, right? So then you don't want to mess up the Git history, and you want to make it really nice. Or suppose you also wanted to just squash your commits. So if you committed three things in or right consecutively right after each other, you don't want to deal with the and you already pushed it. You kind of might want to squash it because it looks kind of ugly for three things that might be related to each other. So what you do is you right click something down here, right? And you click a reset. So you click a reset current branch to this commit. I'm not going to do it. But anyways, after that, you just want to confirm yes to, it'll say something like mixed or hard or soft. You don't want to do a hard reset because a hard reset, I believe, clears everything, even the changes. You want to keep the changes. So when you do reset, all these changes from either the things that weren't committed and the things that were committed get mixed up basically and appear as not committed or changes basically. And then you just commit. And lastly, you go to source control and you want to click, after you commit, you want to click force push. And it's super bothersome in my opinion that it's not in this drop down here, because you have to click once here, go down here, you have to click this, and then you have to confirm again. It's really annoying in my opinion. But that's it for the Git Graph. Next is the Excel viewer. So Excel viewer is actually useful for viewing CSV files. So I'm not exactly sure when I was using this, but if you work with CSV files or even Excel files often, this comes in handy because you don't have to open Excel up, and Excel is sometimes slow. That's just how it is. Next up is called Fix JSON. So suppose you wanted to format your JSON. Yeah, exactly. This is literally why I have it, just to format my JSON files. That's what I have this for, because I don't believe VS Code, or when I installed this, VS Code didn't do it by itself, so I did it myself. Next up is MongoDB. So if you are a MongoDB Atlas user, and or if you have a MongoDB in the cloud somewhere and you want to access it, but you don't want to open Compass up because you're in your editor already, then you can just use MongoDB here. Actually, I'm gonna hide it for for now, but I will. Okay, I don't believe. I believe I can show it, but I'm not too sure. I am going to. I'll show it because I know it's password protected already. But anyways, here's the database, and you can see there's stuff here. You can just edit stuff like that. So go here. We can go to orders, documents. Again, that might show my address. So I'm not gonna do anything there, right? And you can edit the document right from VS Code instead of opening Compass and using that janky UI. Next up is shell check. So this is useful if you want to, basically, if you code in shell or bash and you want to make sure to pick up those errors or those linting, you want to fix those errors that may occur, like if you forget quotation marks and you had a space in your variable or in the value. Yeah, you know, if you code in bash or shell, you'll understand what I mean by that. Next up is one of my favorite kind of thing. Actually, is it really my favorite? No, it's one of the useful things that I learned by myself, which is the remote development extension pack. So this installs a couple things. It installs the remote SSH and remote this stuff, okay? And this lets you connect or SSH into a server from VS Code and open VS Code on that server. It's pretty insane, in my opinion, to do that. And I actually made a tutorial so that you can get the best experience possible. So in my tutorial, you just have to create an SSH key and you don't have to enter your password every single time. Ideally, you'd be doing this on an encrypted laptop, but my desktops might not be encrypted. So if your threat factor is basically that the CIA or FBI is after you, and they're willing to steal your computer, yeah, then you shouldn't follow this tutorial. But if you are like me and you're a law abiding citizen, like we all are, guys, right? And, you don't do anything fishy online, then, or at least you don't do anything fishy not using Tor. If you didn't know, Tor should be your best friend, but I haven't used it in a while. Kind of hard to do that. I was actually trying to open up Dread the other day to see how it looks like, and guess what? It was getting DDoSed. So obviously, the darknet is still a couple years behind in terms of adoption. But anyways, moving onwards is this extension called Remote X11. So back, I'm not sure if it was 2 years ago. Well, okay, maybe it's not worth a story if it's 2 years old. But basically, 2 years ago, there was some. I was doing a C++ course, and the final project, you could have. They were saying that, oh, you could even do GUI if you wanted to, X11 GUI, and I was just thinking, okay, how do I do that on a Windows computer, SSH into a Linux server? How do I run like GUIs like that, right? It doesn't make any sense. So that's what this was for. I don't know exactly how it works still, but let's not talk about it. But I can vouch that it worked. But you needed to install a server on your computer as well. But it still worked for some reason. It was pretty cool that it worked. Okay, we're getting near the end finally, guys. Okay, next up is this thing called Select Line Status Bar. So if you like to flex on people that you care about optimization, this is the best extension, because if you can write multiple implementations of a function, this extension comes in very handy to figure out which one is shorter and which one to actually use. So I've actually done that before, which is why I'm laughing. Which, if you really think about it, it's kind of silly, but yeah, that's just me. I'm not sure what other purposes it has, but for some reason it's useful. Oh, I guess what you could say is that it's also useful for counting lines, because sometimes you actually do need to count lines and not just compare function lengths like I just said. Lastly is an extension called, okay, I should show you which one it is. So this is a select line. This Tomaki guy is a great guy, actually. He's created more than one extension that I use. But here you go, you can see those extensions. The next one is called BSCodePDF. See, it's made by the same guy, Tomaki. And I use this because back again 2 years ago, it's kind of like the most useful place to think about. Not even just 2 years ago, every C++ course that required me to SSH because I'm on a Windows. Nah, let's not talk about that. Yeah, but any course that required me to use the server, basically I have BSCodePDF open as well. Actually, it doesn't matter. Every C++ course, every course that required PDF had assignments in PDFs, and it's a programming assignment. I just open up VS Code, split screen like this. I'll show you. You do Control Alt right click, and then you just open the PDF in this window. You don't have to like do any command. You just double click the PDF or drag and drop the PDF. One of those two. Lastly, which is optional, I have it at the end for because it's not that useful, is a to-do tree. I don't know exactly if the to-dos in this grooming tips. See guys, male grooming tips. Don't don't misread this. But anyways, that is I bet you someone's gonna misinterpret what that means. But shit, yeah, exactly. Male grooming tips. I guess I have to say hygiene tips. That's probably a better word for it. But anyways, to-do tree lets you do that. It sorts out your to-dos by file, and compared to a regular find and replace, it is a bit better, but that's it. So anyways, I hope this video was useful. I hope I could keep it entertaining. I know I'm not the most entertaining person, but I like to make these articles and videos for everyone's benefits. And I want to work on the next Harry videos as well. I want to create an app for Google Desktop as a tutorial to show how to do some stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of busy, so that's why I'm making these videos like really short. And I'll see you in the next one.